Hi, welcome to my second video in the plastic making with the HDPE plastics. So they're the ones with the number 2 on the bottom of it. Now today we're going to be learning about reusing the scraps. So what's happened is as I've turned, I've collected all the scraps, and with these I'm going to make another bowl. What I usually do with it when I'm making another bowl with scraps, instead of putting it in the oven, I put it in the toaster, because then it actually compresses it down and it gets rid of a lot of the air bubbles. I found if I just put it in the oven, it melted, but it's melted very quickly because it was very fine and you got a lot of air trapped in it. It was very hard to get the air out. So with the toaster, I got a cheap one off the internet, and I bought a reusable cookie tray from it. Otherwise you can just use some multi-bake or something, a fairly strong parchment paper, something like that, not just a greaseproof paper because it will just stick to it. So that's the other alternative. Okay, so we'll put that in, it's turned on and it's heated up, and put a good handful in and then squish it down. And then we're just going to do layer upon layer. So once you get a bit of a layer going, it's a lot easier. So we'll just sit that there for a while and then we'll come back in a few minutes. Okay, so this is melted a bit now. What I do is I just get a screwdriver to sort of put it in, and we're just going to put another layer on top. So, and we're just going to continue this process until we go through like the whole bag. Probably about that much. Spread it out and then keep that down. Sometimes I'll actually just even press down a little bit on that just to make it a bit firmer. Make sure I get rid of those air bubbles. What I do now is I'll actually flip this over and put the next layer on the other side, which means that it's still cooking from the bottom as well. So if it hasn't quite melted all of it, you don't need gloves on at this stage. And any of these little bits, you can just chuck them in the middle. Well, that went in the bin instead. So I'll put another layer on. And squish it down again. At this stage, I wish I had have bought a bigger toaster oven, just sandwich toaster. I actually bought this one on just Marketplace, and I got it for like $10. But it would have been better to have the 4-slice one, not the 2-slice one. But it does its job. Now, and it's taken this whole bag to make it that thick. And it's a bit fine at the bottom and the back stuck a little bit. So that's the last one. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to poke any edges in to make sure it's all melted nicely. So especially like these little edges, the rough edges at the edge, the rough edges at the edge, that's a good one. Just so that they're all nice and melted in. I might put gloves on at this stage. I'll close that back up. So back again. It's just getting a bit awkward with the thing. We're just folding over these rough edges there, just so it's one nice big lump. and it all melts together. Okay, and we'll put that back in. Okay, we're going to just make this into a nice ball. Try and squeeze out any of the air as much as possible. Once it starts getting a bit cool, it wrinkles up a bit. Might be hard to see. So you just put it back into the heat source again. So I'll put that back in there. Not for long, just for a few minutes. About a minute probably. Okay, so this is a nice lump. And we're just going to get it into a bit of a ball and drop it in. Oh, a little bit more. What I do is I put a bigger block on just so I can get the clamps on. So this is another one I'm using some scraps, but I'm also going to use some of the milk bottles just to diffuse it a little bit. So I'll end up with like ripples of colour through the milk bottles. And it's the same way as doing the other one, just doing layer. So putting a layer of that, and I've just got some of this blue from a blue bowl that I made. So just putting a layer of each. Okay, so you can see that the plastic milk bottles just go clear and the blue's there, so we just add another layer. And we just go layer upon layer for ages, like the other video. So these are the two blanks I've made, the blue one and the grey one. One of them I'm actually going to screw a faceplate that I've made. So I've made this out of some scrap material, so I'm going to screw that one onto there. This one I'm actually going to do a Forstner bit and just make a groove. So it's two different types of way of mounting it, and we'll have a look at that soon. Okay, so this is now ready to turn. I've mounted that on the lathe. You can see that's the base plate that I made separately, screwed on. Got the tail stop on just to keep it more secure and ready to turn. I haven't done a lot of videoing of the actual turning process. You can see a lot of other videos that are a lot better turners than I am. I use a Forstner bit in this just to hollow out the centre a bit, just to make it a bit quicker and easier to get that hole in the middle of the bowl. So this one I've done the Forstner bit to make a groove in it, and we'll put it on the lathe. Okay, I've got this on the lathe ready to turn. I will put the tail end up just to make it a little bit more secure, because if it does dig in, it tends to fly. So that's the base of this one done, ready to turn around. I'll just polish it up again. And that's coming up nicely. And then all these scraps will get recycled again. So that's the finished blue bowl. And this is a finished grey bowl. So recycled material.